The 19th Amendment is very important, especially to ladies. The amendment reads, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex." Throughout the 19th century, American women were denied the right to vote. This term is known as suffrage. I know some people will think of that it sounds like suffering, but the word suffrage means the right to vote. A few states, mainly in the West, did permit women to vote before the 19th Amendment was approved. Women reformers sought an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would give all women the right to vote in the United States, in America. They used many tactics on behalf of women's suffrage movement. Remember the term suffrage, the right to vote, including in some cases civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is refusing to obey laws that people consider unjust. After many campaigns and struggles, women finally secured the right to vote with ratification of the 19th Amendment, and it happened in the year 1920. While women secured suffrage with the 19th Amendment, women reformers in the 1960s and 1970s wanted greater equality of opportunity. They failed to achieve the adoption of a term called Equal Rights Amendment. This amendment was proposed in Congress in 1972, but has yet never been ratified by the required numbers of states. It stated that the equality of rights should not be denied on account of sex. Women themselves became divided over whether to support the amendment, and others claimed it was unnecessary. But again, the 19th Amendment is that of allowing women the right to vote. And again, that happened in the year 1920. So in just 4 years, we will reach the 100-year anniversary of allowing women the right to vote in the United States, or I should say an amendment to make sure that no state could deny women the right to vote. The 24th Amendment. This states that the right of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary or other election for president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or representatives in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reasons of failure to pay any poll tax or any other tax. During this period of time, especially groups, minorities, were targeted by states to have to pay a particular tax. If you were wealthy, there was no problem, but if you were poor, in poverty, you couldn't pay such a tax, and this tax was meant to help pay for the cost of elections. Sounds pretty reasonable, but if a poor Caucasian white person walked into the voters group, very often they would be permitted to vote, where someone of ethnic race, a Latino, African American, might be required to pay the tax. If they couldn't pay the tax, then they couldn't vote. So in our book on page 178, it says tactics such as poll taxes. And a poll tax, again, is a special tax paid in order to vote, was once used, even as late as the 1960s by southern states to discourage African American voters. The 24th Amendment prohibited any state from requiring the payment of a poll tax for citizens to vote in federal elections. The 24th Amendment was ratified at the height of the civil rights movement of the 1960s. African American leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. held rallies and demonstrations, conducted boycotts, went on marches, and committed acts of civil disobedience. Again, there we go with that civil disobedience. Again, it's refusing to obey laws considered to be unjust. Their actions led to several laws that helped end racial discrimination and promoted greater social justice. These included, and we'll go over them, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Civil Rights Act of 1968. The 26th Amendment. The right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any other state on account of age. We've covered this before in our class, but during the War of Vietnam, young men were being drafted. The term, another word for drafted is conscripted for compulsory military service. So when you're drafted, you are given a draft number. If your number is called, then you have to report, and then you will be put into the military. At the age of 18 years old is where the draft age starts. But the problem at the time was you were not allowed to vote until you reached the age of 21. Many young people, including older critics, argue that if being 18 years old qualified a young man for military service to fight and die for one's country, then surely they were old enough to vote. The amendment process again made it possible to expand voting rights by lowering the minimum age from 21 to 18 in the 26th Amendment. At the conclusion of this, I would like you to go to page 181 and go ahead and write the important parts about what it says in the 19th, 24th, and 26th Amendment. Also write the significance or the importance. Then I would like you to watch several videos dealing with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, and read about the information of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, and then complete the chart for full credit. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher.